Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Mashmi Das, and today I'm going to start a new series on the anatomy of nose. Now, I have divided this topic into different sessions. So, the first session I'm going to be talking about the external nose and everything you need to know about it. So, let's start our class now.
So, we are beginning our topic today, which is anatomy of nose. Now, how can we divide the nose? The nose consists of two parts, the external nose and the internal nose. And the internal nose further can be divided into two nasal cavities by the nasal septum. So, in today's topic, we will be first talking about the external nose and every detail you need to know about the external nose. So, what is this external nose? External nose is basically the external framework of the nose that we have. It is pyramidal in shape with its root up and the base directed downwards. This over here, this region is the root of the neck, which is directed upwards, whereas the base of the nose is directed downwards. It consists of the following layers. Now, the layers of the external nose are the skin, the subcutaneous tissue, which in turn consists of four different layers, which is the superficial fatty layer, the fibromuscular layer, the deep fatty layer, and the periosteum and the perichondrium layer. And the last layer is the osteocartilaginous framework. So, these are all the different layers of the external nose. So, we'll study all of these layers in details and what is the clinical importance related to each one of them. So, the first layer is the skin layer. So, the thickness of the skin and the soft tissues of the nasal bridge, it varies. It is not the same in every individual. And how does it vary? It varies according to the individual skin type and the anatomical location. So what happens is in every individual has a different skin type, and also according to the region, which is the anatomical location of the nose, the thickness of the skin and soft tissue will be varying. And how is that? Firstly, over the dorsum and the sides of the nose, which is this particular region. Over the dorsum and on the sides of the nose, in this region you will see the nasal skin is very thin and it is loosely adherent to the underlying framework. Whereas if you go more towards the nasal tip and the alar cartilages, if you see in this picture, it will be this region. This is the nasal tip and this is the alar region. So this particular whole region, you will see that the nasal skin becomes much thicker and it is more adherent because this is where it contains the numerous sebaceous glands. So you'll see in normal life that when your nose gets oily, you'll be seeing it is mostly along the nasal tip and the alar cartilages. The reason being this region has numerous sebaceous glands. And what is the importance of the clinical importance of this layer of the nose? Clinical importance being these numerous sebaceous glands that you see over here in the nasal tip and the alar cartilage region, you'll see that the hypertrophy of these glands will be leading to a lobulated tumor which is known as rhinophyma, as you see in this picture over here. You can see that this is looking like a very lobulated tumor starting in the nasal tip and the alar cartilage region. This has happened because the sebaceous glands, the numerous sebaceous glands in this region has hypertrophied. Moving on to the next layer, the subcutaneous tissue layer, which has the different four layers. So the first layer being the superficial fatty layer. So the superficial fatty layer, it doesn't have much importance. It is directly connected to the dermis. Next layer is the fibromuscular layer. It is a very important layer because this is the layer which contains all the muscles of the external nose and it is responsible for all the movements we cause with the nose. So this layer basically is called the nasal SMAS. And what is the full form of SMAS here? Subcutaneous muscular aponeurotic system. why is this called this? Because subcutaneous, first of all, it lies beneath the layer of the skin. Muscular aponeurotic because it contains all the muscles and the aponeurosis of the muscles. So, what are the muscles that this layer contains? They mostly contains all the muscles which help to compress, dilate, depress, or elevate the nostrils and the nasal tip. So, these are all the functions that is performed by the muscles of the external nose. So, who are the elevators? The elevators are procerus, as you can see in the picture over here. This is procerus. Levator labii superioris, Alec nasi, and Anomalous nasi. This is Levator labii superioris, Alec nasi, and the last one is Anomalous nasi. So these three are the elevators of the nose. Next, coming to the depressors. The depressors, there are two depressors. One is alar nasalis over here. This muscle, as you can see, and depressor septi over here. These are the two muscles which are responsible for depressing the nasal tip. The compressors of the nose are the transverse nasalis and the compressum narium minor. So, this over here is the transverse nasalis and this is compressor nasum minor. So, these are the compressors of the nose. And dilator, there's only one dilator that you need to know about, which is the dilator naris anterior over here. So, this muscle over here is a dilator nasum anterior. And all of these muscles, all the elevators, the depressors, the compressors and the dilator muscles, they are supplied by one particular nerve, which is the facial nerve. So, this layer is incredibly important because this is responsible for all the movements that we make with our nose. Next, moving on to the next layer, which is the deep fatty layer. So, this deep fatty layer is lying underneath deep to the SMAS layer, and it contains the neurovascular system of the nose, which means the blood supply and the nerve supply of the nose. And why is this layer important? Because dissection deep to this particular layer of the nose will minimize the post-operative scarring and retraction, because the neurovascular and the SMAS structures are preserved if we are doing the dissection deep to this layer. So, while doing surgery, this is very important for us. Lastly, under the subcutaneous layer is the last layer, which is the periosteum and the perichondrium layer. This completes the subcutaneous layer. Next, moving on to the last layer, which is very important for us to know. This is a question which is asked in theory questions as well as your Viva questions, which is about the osteocartilaginous framework of the nose. As we know, the main framework of the nose is made up of both bones and cartilages. Hence, the name osteo, meaning bone, and cartilaginous framework. So, we will divide this into two parts. First, I'll talk about the bony part of the nose. So, the bony part is mostly the upper 1/3 of the nose. As you can see, this is the whole nose. Within this, the upper 1/3 of the nose is the bony part of the nose. Now, what are the bones forming them? The bones forming them are the two nasal bones, first of all, which meet in the midline, and they rest on the upper part of the nasal process of the frontal bones, and they are themselves held between the frontal processes of the maxilla. So there are three different types of bones which is forming the bony part. If we see in the picture, we will see the first part is the nasal bone. There are two nasal bones on both the sides, which are meeting in the midline, and they themselves are resting on the upper part. This is the nasal process of the frontal bone, this bone over here. So they are resting on the nasal process of the frontal bone, and they are themselves getting held between. This is the frontal process of the maxilla. So as you can see, these three bones help in forming the bony part of the osteocartilaginous framework of the external nose. Next, we move to the cartilaginous part. Now, this itself is also very important for us to know. So, there are four cartilages which are making up the external nose. We'll start off with the first one, which is known as the upper lateral cartilages. If you see in the picture, this itself here is the upper lateral cartilage. So, upper lateral cartilage, as you can see from the shape here, it is a trapezoid shaped cartilage. If you see in the picture, we can see that it attaches to the nasal bone over here cranially and to the caudal cartilages, lower lateral cartilages here caudally via the scroll area. These are the two attachments. Whereas in the midline, you can see that they are fusing with each other and with the upper border of the septal cartilage in the midline anteriorly. And last of all, the lower free edge of the upper lateral cartilage. If you see the lower free edge of the upper lateral cartilage, it itself is seen intranasally. Intranasally meaning if you see from within the nose, from the internal side of the nose, this particular region in the nose, it forms an important landmark known as the nasal valve, or also called the Lyman nasi. So this region is forming the nasal valve, the lower border, lower free edge of the upper lateral cartilage. Next is the lower lateral cartilage, which we also sometimes call as the alar cartilages. Now this particular cartilage, you will see in the picture here, it is U-shaped. You can see here, this is completely U-shaped. Therefore, what we can see from the picture is that it has a lateral crus and it has a medial crus. So the lateral crus is helping in forming the ala, whereas the medial crus is running in the columella. And the lateral crus, it overlaps the lower edge of the upper lateral cartilage on each side, as I already told you earlier. So these are the upper and the lower lateral cartilage. Next, we move on to the lesser alar cartilage, also known as the sesamoid cartilage, as you can see from the picture over here. These are the lesser alar cartilages or the sesamoid cartilage. They are 2 or more in number and they lie just above and lateral to the alar cartilages. Lastly is the septal cartilage. If you see in the midline, when I was telling you earlier, the upper lateral cartilage to fuse in the midline with the septal cartilage. Right over here is the septal cartilage. So the septal cartilage, its anterosuperior border runs from underneath the nasal bone from here and continues downwards to the nasal tip. Why is this important? Because it helps in supporting the dorsum of the cartilaginous part of the nose. This septal cartilage is incredibly important to give support to the structure and integrity of the nose. Now, what will happen if this was not present? So what happens, you'll see in septal abscesses, or if you remove excessive removal of the septal cartilage in an SMR operation, SMR being submucosal resection operation, is an operation on the nose. What happens is the support of the nasal dorsum is lost, and you'll see that there will be a supratip depression, resulting as a deformity in these patients. So the support of the septal cartilage is very, very, very important. So this completes the osteocartilaginous framework of the nose. Next, we study about what are the supplies of the nose. So first we'll study about the arterial supply of the nose. So in the arterial supply, you'll see they get branches from the facial artery itself giving 2 branches, the angular artery and the superior labial artery, the ophthalmic artery, the anterior ethmoidal artery, and the infraorbital artery. So first we'll talk about the facial artery. So the facial artery, as you can see in the picture here, this is the facial artery. This itself is giving 2 branches, the angular artery, which is going to supply the alar region, as you can see over here. It is supplying the alar region over here. And the superior labial artery, which is also a branch of the facial artery, it divides itself into 2 parts, which is first the columellar branch artery, which is supplying the nasal sill and the columnar region, which is right over here, and the septal branch, which supplies the anterior nasal septum. So it goes over here. So this is the supply of the facial artery. Next, moving on to the ophthalmic artery. Now, the ophthalmic artery itself, it gives rise to the dorsal nasal branch. As you can see over here, this is the dorsal nasal branch, which anastomoses with the lateral nasal branch of the angular artery. This is the lateral nasal branch. So these two branches, they anastomose with each other, and then it supplies the dorsum and the nasal side wall. Next is the anterior ethmoid artery. The anterior ethmoid artery, it supplies the nasal dorsum via the external nasal branch itself. As you can see, this is the external nasal branch of the anterior ethmoidal artery. This is supplying the nasum dorsum, which is this region. Lastly is the infraorbital artery, which supplies the nasal side wall. The side wall being this region. So this completes the arterial supply of the external nose. Next, we learn about the venous drainage. Venous drainage is very important to know because it has a lot of clinical importance. The venous network, you'll notice they do not usually, in all cases you'll be noticing that the venous drainage is exactly like the arterial supply. They have similar names and it is very easy to remember that. Whereas in case of the external nose, you'll see they do not parallel the arterial supply, but in turn, they actually correspond to territories which are named as arteriovenous units. So, the territories being the frontomedian area, which drains to the facial vein. As you can see in the picture over here, this itself is the facial vein. And the orbitopalpebral area, which drains to the ophthalmic vein. So and you'll also see the confluence of the supratrochlear and the supraorbital vein. They form the angular vein at the inner canthus over here, and which gives rise to the facial vein. Then the facial vein, through a valveless venous system, which is the pterygoid venous plexus, it communicates with the cavernous sinus via the ophthalmic vein. Now this communication over here, this is very, very, very important. And why is that? We'll get to know. So clinically, if we were talking about its importance, we'll see that the upper lip, this particular area, the upper lip and the nose, this area is considered the danger area of the face. Why is that? Because infections in this region, it may be transmitted in a retrograde fashion intracranially to the cavernous sinus via this communication that I just told you about. So this communication from the facial vein via the pterygoid venous plexus to the cavernous sinus is very important, because any infection in this danger area of the face right over here, it can be transmitted intracranially to the cavernous sinus. This is a very important short note that happens. You can use this picture to draw when you're writing your answers. And this completes the venous drainage. Next, we move on to the nerve supply of the external nose. The nerves which are supplying, the first one are the supratrochlear and the infratrochlear branches. This is the supratrochlear nerve and this is the infratrochlear nerve. These are both branches of the ophthalmic nerve. And what are they supplying? They are supplying the skin of the nasal root, the bridge and upper part of the side wall. So this is the region which is supplied by them. Next is the infraorbital branch of the maxillary nerve. The maxillary nerve being the second division of the trigeminal nerve. It supplies the remaining of the nasal side wall. Lastly is the external nasal branch of the anterior ethmoidal nerve, which exits in between the nasal bone and the upper lateral cartilage, and it supplies the skin over the dorsum and the nasal tip, which is the rest of the area, the nasal tip and the dorsum of the nose. So these are the three areas which are supplied by the different nerves. Next, lastly, we have to study about the lymphatic drainage of the external nose. The lymphatic drainage of the external nose can be divided into submandibular, submental, and the facial nodes. You can see over here, these are the submental nodes, these are the submandibular nodes, and facial nodes are not visible here. And drainage, you'll notice, of this external nose is often bilateral. And also, drainage to the parotid region may also be a factor over here. So, the lymphatic drainage being the submandibular, submental, and the facial nodes, and sometimes to the parotid region, and this is often bilateral. So, this completes everything you need to know about the external nose. Amongst this whole thing, for questions related to Viva and short questions for your prior theory examinations, important ones are the osteocartilaginous framework of the nose, what are the structures forming them, and secondly, the danger area of the face, as we studied the venous system of the external nose. So I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching, guys, and please subscribe to my channel.